Thomas Edison, A Life in Light. If you enjoy calm storytelling, please subscribe and like the video to help this channel grow. The story begins in a small town called Milan, Ohio, on February 11, 1847. A boy is born to Samuel and Nancy Edison. They name him Thomas Alva Edison. At first, nothing about the house or the town suggests a future tied to the glow of electric light. His father is a restless, practical man who has tried many trades. His mother is a former teacher with a calm mind and a steady hand. When Thomas is 7, the family moves to Port Huron, Michigan, a place with rail tracks, river traffic, and the sounds of a growing country. This is the world that shapes him, noisy, busy, and full of small machines. Thomas does not fit well in school. He talks a lot. He asks a stream of questions. His hearing is poor, and over time it gets worse. Some say a conductor struck him on a train, others say it was scarlet fever and ear infections. Edison later jokes that his deafness helps him concentrate. Whatever the cause, he starts to live in a quiet bubble that lets him focus. His mother decides to teach him at home. She gives him books on science and history. He reads about chemistry and electricity. He sets up a small lab in the family's basement and begins to test things. The glass bottles and powders smell strange. His parents worry. But the experiments continue, because experiments are what he loves. At age 12, he gets a job selling newspapers and snacks on the Grand Trunk Railway. He runs up and down the train cars with bundles of papers and baskets of apples. The job pays a few dollars, and he sees new towns every day. He also notices that people will pay extra for news that feels hot. He persuades the telegraph operators to give him early updates, then prints small bulletins on a hand press and sells them to passengers. The habit will follow him through life: find information, control the way it is delivered, and build a business around that edge. During quiet stretches, he tinkers. He sets up a tiny chemistry lab in the baggage car. One day a bottle breaks and starts a fire. He is thrown off the train. The lab is gone. But the lesson remains: risk and curiosity walk together, and he is willing to accept both. Soon he becomes a telegraph operator. The Civil War has made telegraphy important, and the country needs skilled hands. He learns to send and receive messages by sound, taking in the rapid clicks the way a musician hears notes. He moves from city to city: Stratford, Louisville, Boston, New York, working overnight shifts and learning how the network breathes. He studies the equipment when other operators play cards. He figures out how to fix broken keys and lines. he tries to design improvements. His first important patent comes in 1869, an electric vote recorder for legislatures. The device is clever, but lawmakers do not want to vote faster, they want time to argue and delay. Edison learns a hard rule: an invention must solve a problem people actually want solved. He will never forget it. He moves to New York City, where money and messages flow together. Western Union and rival financiers are battling for control of telegraph traffic and stock price information. Edison improves a stock ticker, a machine that prints share prices on paper tape. His version is more reliable and faster. The company pays him a handsome sum for the rights. It is enough for him to set up his own workshop and hire a few assistants. He will call them muckers. They will stay up late with him, share crude meals at wooden benches, and push through hundreds of trials until something works. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, he will later say. The line is not a boast, it is a map of his days. By 1876, Edison has made enough money and mistakes to dream larger. He builds a research laboratory in the quiet village of Menlo Park, New Jersey. It is not a single room or a lone bench. It is a system: machine shop, glass-blowing room, chemical lab, library, drafting tables, and test rigs. If a piece of equipment does not exist, they make it. If a material is rare, they hunt it down. If a test fails, and most do, they adjust and try again. The world has not quite seen a place like this, a factory for ideas that can be tested and built into products. Menlo Park will become famous as the Invention Factory. In late 1877, Edison and his team are working on improvements to the telegraph and telephone. They play with diaphragms, needles, and vibrating parts to understand how sound leaves a mark. One night, Edison wraps tinfoil around a cylinder and speaks into a mouthpiece as the cylinder turns. Later, he places a needle back into the grooves and cranks the handle. A voice comes out, his own, small and tinny, but alive: "Mary had a little lamb." The phonograph is born. Newspapers call him the Wizard of Menlo Park. Crowds line up to hear the machine. The sound is not perfect, and the tinfoil records wear out. But the idea explodes. It is the first time a human can record a moment and play it back. The distance between past and present narrows to the width of a groove. After the roar of the phonograph, Edison turns to light. Gas flames flicker in homes and streets, but they are smoky and dangerous. Electric arcs exist, yet they are too bright and harsh for indoor use. Edison wants a soft, steady light that can run in homes, offices, and factories. He does not want just a bulb, he wants a complete system. He imagines generators, wires, switches, meters, and sockets. He sets a goal: create a lamp that lasts long and glows at the right temperature with the right filament and the right glass. It sounds simple. It is not. In 1879, after thousands of trials, the Menlo Park team gets a steady glow from a carbonized filament sealed inside a glass bulb. They try different materials for the filament: cardboard, cotton thread, even slices of cane. They study vacuum pumps to remove air from the bulb, learning that oxygen is the enemy of hot carbon. In October, they produce a bulb that burns for about 13 hours. They turn it on and watch. They solder, cool, and wait. Later they push the life longer, especially after finding that carbonized bamboo makes a durable filament. The bamboo is sourced from Japan and, for a time, is the secret edge of Edison's lamps. Newspapers print drawings of glowing bulbs strung like necklaces. Investors smell a new industry. So do rivals. Edison builds an electrical company to sell a system, not just parts. He hires engineers to lay wires under city streets. He designs generators called dynamos and large switch panels that manage load and safety. He targets a section of Lower Manhattan to prove the idea at scale. On September 4, 1882, the Pearl Street station on Nassau Street begins to send electricity to customers. The event is a turning point. Electric light spreads through banks, print shops, hotels, and then homes. People stand on sidewalks and look up at windows that shine with a steady, warm glow. Gas companies feel the heat of competition. The night is changed. While light and power spread, disputes also grow. Edison's system uses direct current, DC, which moves power in one direction and works well at short distances. A rival approach backed by George Westinghouse uses alternating current, AC, which changes direction many times per second and can travel longer distances through transformers that raise and lower voltage. The war of currents begins. Edison, fearing for public safety and the future of his business, warns that high-voltage AC is dangerous and points to accidents to make his case. Westinghouse argues that AC is practical and efficient for cities and towns far from generators. The debate is sharp and often ugly. Over time, AC proves better for large-scale transmission, and the country adopts it for long-distance lines. Yet Edison's work on generation, distribution, meters, and lamps remains the essential start of the electric age. Cities build on his foundation even as they choose a different current for the wider grid. In the mid-1880s, Edison moves his main operations from Menlo Park to a larger, more advanced laboratory complex in West Orange, New Jersey. The new site has bigger buildings, more machine tools, and more staff. It becomes a cradle for the next phase of his ideas, improvements to the phonograph, motion pictures, storage batteries, and materials. He forms the Edison Phonograph Company. Early phonographs used tinfoil and then wax cylinders. They capture voices for business dictation and capture songs for home entertainment. Over time, discs enter the market, and Edison later offers his own diamond disc system. The competition is fierce. Sound quality, price, and marketing all matter. Edison trusts his ear and his brand. Often he is right. Sometimes the market surprises him. Motion pictures arrive as a natural question. If you can capture sound, can you also capture motion? Edison and his assistant William Kennedy Laurie Dixon design a camera and a peep show viewing device called the kinetoscope. The camera uses a strip of celluloid film moved by gears and a shutter to expose rapid snapshots. The viewer lets one person watch a short scene through a window, a dancer, a boxing match, a person sneezing, simple fragments of life made repeatable. In 1893, Edison builds a small film studio at West Orange, nicknamed the Black Maria because it resembles a police wagon. The roof opens to let in sunlight. Actors and performers come to make short films. Soon, other inventors create projectors to show moving pictures to audiences. Edison licenses a projector called the Vitascope and presents films to crowds in theaters. This medium will become one of the century's dominant arts, and Edison's studio stands near the birth of that river. Not everything Edison touches turns to gold. He invests in an ore milling project to crush and process low-grade iron ore in New Jersey. He builds long conveyor belts and giant crushing machines. The plan is ambitious but fails. Better ore from the Great Lakes is cheaper and easier to use. The loss is heavy, but he moves on. He shifts some of the equipment and experience into cement production. Edison Portland Cement goes on to supply concrete for buildings and even parts of Yankee Stadium's structure. The lesson repeats: turn setbacks into new products by reusing tools, knowledge, and people. Around the same time, Edison works on rechargeable batteries for electric cars and industrial uses. Gasoline engines are rising, but electric vehicles still have a chance if energy storage improves. Edison's team develops an alkaline storage battery with nickel and iron electrodes. It is rugged and long-lasting, though not as energy-dense as later chemistries. The battery finds use in mining lamps, railroad signals, and some early cars and trucks. Henry Ford, an admirer of Edison, asks questions about using batteries in vehicles. The two men become friends. Ford later moves to internal combustion for mass-market cars, but Edison's work on safety, reliability, and industrial design gives the battery a life of its own. Home life runs alongside the machines. Edison marries Mary Stilwell in 1871. They have 3 children, Marion, Thomas Jr., and William. Mary dies in 1884. In 1886, Edison marries Mina Miller, the daughter of a prominent inventor and education advocate. They have 3 more children, Madeline, Charles, and Theodore. The family lives first in Menlo Park and later at Glenmont, a large house in Llewellyn Park near the West Orange Labs. Edison is often at work late, sleeping on a cot in the lab, but Mina keeps the home stable. The children visit the lab, watch experiments, and grow up under the soft glare of early electric lights. Edison's personality blends optimism and stubbornness. He loves to test ideas in large numbers, changing one variable at a time. He once says he has not failed, he has just found 10,000 ways that won't work. He prefers practical results to theory, though he respects good science. He hires skilled glassworkers, chemists, machinists, and draftsmen, and he gives them room to try things. He also insists on speed. If an idea seems promising, scale it quickly. If it falters, cut and pivot. He takes naps at his desk and then wakes to ask rapid questions. He writes notes in pencil on crumpled paper. He tastes a little of everything in the lab, literally and figuratively, and lets other people's good ideas become part of a larger system. The lab is never neat, but it is alive. The business side is just as complex. Edison founds, merges, and sells companies. In the late 1880s, the Edison General Electric Company competes in lighting and power systems. In 1892, it merges with a rival, Thomson Houston, to form General Electric. The resulting company is a giant in a growing field. Edison moves on from direct control, but the name Edison remains thick in the air around power and light. He continues to control other ventures in phonographs, motion pictures, and batteries. Lawsuits come and go, about patents, licenses, and who owns what. He fights to protect his inventions, sometimes with stubborn intensity. In the motion picture world, he forms a trust to control film equipment, which leads to intense legal battles with independent filmmakers. The industry eventually breaks free and migrates to California, but many of the early techniques, contracts, and workflows trace back to his studio and his rivals' responses to it. As Edison ages into the 1900s and 1910s, he keeps working daily in West Orange. He experiments with new compounds for phonograph records, tests improvements to storage batteries, and chases the dream of a domestic source for rubber using a plant called goldenrod. The research is hard and slow. He grows large fields of the plant, squeezes the sap, and tries to isolate usable latex. Some results are promising but never reach full-scale commercial success. Yet the quest reveals his rhythm: find a strategic national need, sound, light, materials, and try to solve it with persistence and a deep bench of experiments. In public, he becomes a symbol of American ingenuity. Magazine covers show him looking stern and determined. School children do projects about his light bulb and his phonograph. Journalists tour his lab and marvel at the stacks of prototypes. Visitors remember his quick walk, his careful hearing trumpets, and his dry humor. When World War I looms, he supports efforts to bring scientific research into national defense while warning against the romantic pull of conflict. He advises the Navy on ways to use science for detection and communication. He believes technology can solve practical problems and reduce waste, though he also understands that technology can be used for harm. The numbers are part of the legend. Edison holds 1,093 U.S. patents and many more abroad. They cover electric power distribution, lamps, phonographs, motion picture cameras, cement, batteries, and chemical processes. But the real impact is not a number. It is the creation of a method. Before Edison, many inventors worked alone or in small shops. After Edison, a research lab with teams, budgets, and deadlines becomes a standard model. Companies build R&D departments inspired by Menlo Park in West Orange. Universities organize labs that look like his, with specialized tools and technicians. The modern idea of innovation, as a repeatable, managed process, takes shape in his hands. In the 1920s, as radio and talkies rise, Edison's phonograph faces new competition. He resists microphones that, to his ear, add unnatural warmth to voices. He prefers direct, clear tones. His instincts, once perfectly aligned with markets, sometimes clash with changing tastes. Still, he remains influential. He attends ceremonies, opens exhibitions, and records reflections. He meets famous people who grew up in a world his inventions helped create. He sits with Henry Ford and a frail Alexander Graham Bell at commemorations of American inventors. They tell stories, share memories, and laugh about the days when sound first came out of a groove and when a spark leapt across a small gap and changed everything. Edison dies on October 18, 1931, in West Orange, New Jersey. He is 84. Across the country, lights are dimmed in tribute. For a moment, the nation lets darkness return, gentle, respectful, so people can feel the difference his work made. There is a story that Henry Ford captured Edison's last breath in a test tube as a keepsake, a symbolic gesture of friendship and respect. Whether literal or not, the image shows how people saw him, as the man who breathed life into the night. The legacy is everywhere. Streetlights, office lighting, and home lamps trace a line back to his early systems. Movie theaters and streaming platforms are built on the idea that motion can be recorded and replayed at will. Recorded music and voice messages, once shocking, are now the background hum of life. Power grids connect cities with an invisible muscle. Factories run after sunset. Students read after dark without smoke or soot. The shape of a modern evening, the dinner light, the late-night study, the neon sign, owes something to Edison's stubborn quest for a practical glow. To understand his style, look closely at how he worked. He did not start with theories, though he respected them. He started with questions. Can we do this cheaper? Can we make it last longer? Can it be used safely by many people? He then built tools and processes that let him test those questions at high speed. He recorded results carefully. He kept what worked and threw out what did not. He did not let a single failure define a project. He ran many tests in parallel. He believed that if you could try 100 variants in a single week, you would learn faster than a competitor who tried 5. He hired good people and stayed close to the bench. He liked to hold parts in his hands, to feel the weight of a new filament or hear the buzz of a fresh dynamo. The lab was his stage, and the show never stopped. He also understood stories. The phonograph was not just a machine, it was a talking machine. The light bulb was not just a component, it was a symbol of a new kind of life. Edison spoke to the press, staged demonstrations, and nurtured a public image. He supported journalists and let them see inside his process. He did not hide in the basement. He made the work visible, which drew partners, investors, and customers. In our time, we call this storytelling and branding. In his time, it looked like excitement and a good show, but it was also very smart business. Consider the Pearl Street station again, because it captures the heart of the Edison approach. He could have simply sold bulbs and told people to figure out the rest. Instead, he designed the generator, the meter, the distribution lines, the fuses, the sockets, and the factory to build the bulbs. He sold a complete solution. This required capital, coordination, and daily problem solving. It was a city-scale startup. He had to work with city officials to lay ducts, with property owners to install fixtures, and with investors to finance the generators. The system could not fail in public. If it did, people would return to gaslight. So he built redundancy and manual overrides. He trained operators. He set up maintenance schedules. This is operational excellence as much as invention. It is the birth of product management and systems engineering, decades before those terms existed. Edison could be difficult. He protected his turf. He argued with partners. He split from some early backers over strategy and rights. He sometimes missed where tastes were moving, as with certain music recording methods. He pushed employees hard. None of this erases his achievement, but it makes it human. He was not a perfect man, he was a relentless one. He believed mistakes were tuition. He believed noise could be tuned into music if you turned the knobs enough times. In the long arc of technology, Edison stands at a hinge. Before him, the world gathers around fires, candles, and lamps filled with oil or gas. After him, the night becomes negotiable. Cities bloom in electric patterns seen from the sky. Work shifts expand. Hospitals operate more safely after dark. The phonograph carries the human voice across time. Films let audiences travel without moving. Batteries store energy for when and where it is needed. Cement lowers the cost of building and lifts bridges and stadiums into the air. None of these changes is his alone, yet his hands are on the switch in many rooms. If you could walk through Menlo Park on the night he first kept several lamps burning in a row, you would hear the low hiss of vacuum pumps and the soft hum of generators. You would see faces lean into the glass to look at the glowing filament, the way people today lean into screens. You would feel the strange mix of fear and hope that new technologies always bring. And you would hear the voice of a man telling his team to try another filament, to check the seals, to log the hours, to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. That was his music. He once said that his greatest pleasure was to see the result of an experiment that I have been thinking over day and night. That is the essence of the Edison story. It is not about magic or sudden inspiration. It is about building a place where ideas can be turned into devices, devices into systems, and systems into daily life. It is about moving from a sketch on a page to a lamp on a desk, to a lit street, to a city seen from a river at midnight, glowing like a field of stars brought down to earth. It is about the stubborn courage to try again when the glass breaks, the filament snaps, or the meter lies. It is about making the night bright enough for the next person to see a little further. Today, when we flip a switch without thinking, we are living inside his answer. When we watch a film and forget where we are, we are riding a wave he helped start. When a song plays in a room with no singer present, we are hearing his first tinfoil grooves matured into a global chorus. He chased light, sound, and motion not because they were poetic, though they are, but because they were useful. He believed the useful could also be beautiful. In the steady glow of a well-made lamp, he was right. Thomas Alva Edison, newsboy, telegrapher, inventor, manager, showman, did not just make inventions. He made invention itself into a way of working. He turned curiosity into a craft and built a home for it. In that home, he and his teams found a way to bend the night to human need and make voices ride on needles. The lab bench and the drafting table became instruments, the factory a choir, the city a stage. The curtain never fully fell. The show goes on wherever a wire hums, a battery charges, or a recording plays. The light that poured out of Menlo Park in West Orange still moves across the world, room by room, hand by hand, switch by switch, ordinary, quiet, and revolutionary.